Hi, you guys. Welcome back. My name is Carrie Penny. I am the Happy Crafty Homemaker, and welcome to Show and Tell number 295. I hope y'all have had a wonderful week. For me, it's been very short time span between talking to you guys. So I filmed last Thursday's video on Tuesday, and today is Sunday. So shorting myself 2 days here. So forgive the lack of progress I've made on some of my projects, but I have made good progress on other ones. So I am taking advantage once again of the time where I feel good. It's not interrupting something. And as I'm trying to get these uploaded by 11:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Eastern time, and 8 a.m. on Saturdays, I need to make sure I'm getting things filmed a little bit earlier in the week so I have time to edit everything. And if I'm going to do Tuesday and Thursday videos, I prefer to film those on the same day to save myself some effort and time. Saturdays are hit or miss, but I'm trying really hard. I have a new camera I'm wanting to try out. So hopefully next week's videos, I will be testing out the new camera and we'll see how that works. I'm hoping maybe that will help with some of the blowback we're getting from the ring light because my camera here is no longer adjusting quickly. It does adjust eventually. It just, even shadowing it takes a second. Anyway, enough peeking behind the scenes. Really nothing to report from the last week. Life-wise, I do have some media we'll talk about at the end of this. We'll have some pet tags and stuff too. So I suppose we ought to just hop on over to WIPs real quick. All right. So I have 5 WIPs I brought up with me. No, 4 WIPs. 1, 2, 3, 5. I was right the first time. So let's do socks first. They're easy to talk about. So my not walking socks that I have been working on are these salt and pepper socks for Troy, my husband, and I have worked this inch. Well, that's 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Since y'all saw these last. So nice bit of work there. I am doing these 2 at a time on a US 1 ChiaoGoo 40-inch needle. And this is Quarry and Gray from Mary Maxim Simply Socks, which is a discontinued sock line. I think this has been in my stash since 2020. I have it written down in the journal downstairs. My craft journal. I'm trying to, I don't think we're going to do better than the Pink Panther yarns, Pink Panther scarf yarns, where those have been in my stash for very, very long time. Yeah, I think those are probably the oldest yarns in my stash, are probably the ones from the Six Kingdom Club and the Malbrigo of the Month Club from Eat Sleep Knit many, many, many moons ago. So I don't know that we're gonna have anything older than that, but I am trying to keep track. I do want to try to focus on some of the deeper stash things. And it's just because I want to make sure I'm seeing those. Some of those have been caked up and kind of hidden from my vision because they'll get in the cubes and I don't see them. If it's not in something that I'm pulling out specific, like the palette box or something, I'm just not going to see it. So these are the Blue Yonder socks. This is Simply Sock Yarn Company's Splash Sock base, and I decided to do the heels in the Hawthorne kettle dyed from Knit Picks in Compass. I used these for the last pair of socks that I had knit not the last pair, the pair before that I had knit my husband. Those were blue with the heel, toe, and cuff in this color. I plan on just the heel being in this color. But the way we were striping, I didn't want these stripes to end up in the heel. I want them to be on the leg. So I needed to do a different heel. And for some reason, my stitches feel super loose. I know this yarn blooms a lot when it gets wet. And I'm hoping that makes up any extra bagginess I feel like is in this heel. These will go through the washer and dryer, so it should be fine. My toes already have the ends woven in. I just finished the heel, like, I kid you not, like an hour and a half ago. So I have not woven in the ends on those yet. But last week when you saw these were here. So I did a 5-mile walk, a 3-mile walk, and a 5-mile walk with these. I did not walk Saturday or Sunday. So I walked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and had some issues. So I wasn't able to walk over the weekend, but I'm hoping, we're having storms tomorrow morning. I'm hoping if the storms pass it through in the afternoon, it's supposed to be in the 70s. And if it's warm enough and dry enough, I might try walking tomorrow afternoon, just depending on what the storms do. If they're horrible storms, I probably won't walk again until Tuesday afternoon, because Tuesday morning it's supposed to be in the 20s. I am not walking when it's in the 20s. I will do an indoor Leslie Sansone walking workout. I will not walk outside in the 20s. But that means I'll work on the quarry socks, not these. These are specifically outdoor walks that I'm doing. I don't know why I'm putting that caveat on there. I thought it made it fun. No particular reason. Next up, we can go to shawls. So the Lenten prayer shawl from Victoria Methodist Bristol. Links for any patterns mentioned will be down below. I am using Lion Brand Touch of Alpaca for this. I had 4 of these in my stash. I think I'm going to end up using 2.5. I am doing a size 4 shawl. This did call for a size 3 yarn. I'm using a size 4. So mine is extra, extra large. So if you were thinking about making one of these, please be aware, I am making the largest size on an even larger yarn. But I love this pattern. I definitely am going to have to make one of these for myself. As I've said, you know, before we started with that eyelet pattern, we slowly grew from posies into daisies. Then we started getting these hydrangea blooms. And we were halfway through this motif last week when you saw this. And now we have some accent hydrangea blooms overhead. So I believe we will probably start shrinking our motifs back down to where we're doing the eyelets. But I love this. It is so pretty. It's so elegant. And I think this would be beautiful in a cream color yarn. And I need a cream, a black, and a gray shawl. So, well, I probably need a white, a cream, a black, and a gray. I have a tan, and maybe a chocolate would be nice. But I think one of these might be in order for me. This one will be donated. We do have a couple of times where different orders have asked for shawls for the sisters. We really ran out of people in the church for bereavement or homebound needs. So I'm holding on to the donation shawls for now. I have probably about 15 in the basket. I didn't make any donations this year or this last year. So I have about 15 already ready to go. My goal this year is to make 5 more to donate. So this will be donated because it is 5% alpaca. I do have to be careful where it goes. It can't go to like homebound or anybody in a nursing home. It needs to go to somebody who can care for it, obviously. But yeah, love that. And the meditations have all been really nice, very thoughtful, while Christian. They're not preaching. I know that there are a lot of people that, are not Christians, but they do enjoy making things like this. So even if you opted to read while there is some scripture and stuff like that in there, if you opted to read the meditations, a lot of them are not necessarily, while Christian, not preaching. So I would say very nice pattern though. I love this pattern. Pippin has decided he wants to be underfoot now, so now I don't have a place to set things down. So up next, this is me riffing on a popular theme right now. So if you stopped by for the Bernat Lattice review, you will have seen at least the up close portion of this scarf. It's kind of based on the Avenue pattern from House of Gold. This is where the actual knot in my yarn was. I'm doing this at 6 feet, so that's actually what the 3 markers here on the side are for, is 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. I am now in the decreasing section. The lollipop marker is to help me know where I am getting ready to decrease. But I have changed the rate of increase and decrease from that. It doesn't match any other pattern really. I'm doing a 2-stitch I-cord edge. I did increases on every 8th row, 4 sets, 4 ridges. And now I'll do the same going down. But yeah, the Avenue pattern's been out for a long time. I knit that when I was still in Charlotte, I believe. I might have knit it here. I actually found out about the pattern from Ross, Smells Like Yarn podcast. Yeah, I forgot when I made it. It's been more than 2 years. I think it's been maybe 4 years since I knit that. But it's very similar to like Petite Knit's Sophie scarf, except it's a full length scarf instead of, just a little rippity wrap that goes around your neck. But all of those, like, I'm seeing more and more plain garter stitch scarves and shawls using the I-cord edge and everything, which I think is lovely. I love the I-cord edge. I've used it for years on things. It gives you a nice weight, especially on a shawl. So I'm all for more patterns using it. But I'm noticing more and more of just the plain garter stitch things with the I-cord edge, and some are free, some are charged. Pick your increase amount, like you want to, how fast you want things to increase. This, I wanted to maintain a triangle shape on the one edge, but I wanted it to be very slow growing and slow shrinking. But if you want something faster, you can increase every other row. If you want something slower, you can increase every, 8 rows like I'm doing. So it's whatever you feel like doing. No real pattern for that, but if you want a reference pattern for kind of the House of God scarf goes out, and then it's a scarf, and then it goes down, so it tapers on the ends. I just took their idea for the taper and went, like I said, slower. Up next, Captivity. So I kind of went a little sideways with this. I only have 3 skeins of the Beach Bunny yarn, and I wanted to make sure I have enough yarn to make this the length I need it to be. As I said in the video talking about the Make Along, this is my rib cage. This is my hip bone. I don't have a whole lot of distance here, and if something hits me right here, it's not a good... I mean, even if like I'm throwing this over a dress or something, or throwing it over like a long tunic length, like tank top or something, the visual of cutting me here is not great. Plus, it looks more like a bust ruffle than it does a sweater, because, once again, that's my belly button. That's the end of my bust. So if we cut here at my natural waist, it's just not a flattering combination. So I did opt to use this. I have 5 hanks of this, and I've already tried to make it a sweater a couple of times. This periwinkle color will look phenomenal on me. But if this is going to be enough, then I will go ahead and make it again with the other yarn as well. Sorry about that. An alarm just popped up on my phone. But yeah, love this. Love where it's going. I don't know that I'm doing the row after the slip stitch rows right, but you can see there's like a little running stitch looking row here, and that's created by doing slip stitches. I've done this before on a couple of projects, but this is brilliant. So this is, the whole pattern for this is very loose and airy, A-line, flouncy kind of thing. The problem with making tops like this, though, is there's no structure in them. There's nowhere to really put structure in them because it would break up that flouncy, loose fit that the designer was going for. By doing this, though, so I've got a ton of stretch up here because of the fingering weight yarn. I'm using an E 3.5 millimeter hook. But you see all this squishy stretchiness? Well, when you hit that slip stitch, it gives you structure. There's structure there. So it's not going to overly stretch and just kind of like straight off of. It's got a wide collar line. So it's kind of thing like over the course of the day, as it stretches and stretches and stretches from where it could easily just go. Because that slip stitch is in there, it's going to hold the size across there, which is a brilliant way to add it in. It's a beautiful aesthetic detail, beautiful way to add in a little bit of structure to help keep everything together and not have this fall apart. So give me just 1 second and we will come back for my FO. All right, so for finished objects, I have the Checkmate shawl. Oh, I've already forgotten her name. Pile of Wool is her company name. De Madeleine. Oh my goodness gracious. It's here on screen, I'm sure, but I just totally... Her name. This shawl is crocheted. I used a size I hook. This is also using the same Bernat lattice we were just talking about. This is the color Blacklight, by the way. I don't know how much you can really see. You can see it under my arm there. The checkerboard pattern created by the Filet Crochet. It is so fantastic. I love, yeah, see, there's a square. There's a square. I love this pattern. It is so easy to just kind of roll through and have memorized. It is a free pattern. Link will be in the description box, but oh my goodness. And with this, oh, you can see it up against my sweater real nice there on my belly. Look at my tummy. I cannot tell you how beautiful this is, and so simple and just came together so perfectly. You guys, go check out the pattern. Definitely, definitely, definitely worth working. I did do my version of kind of like a chainless turn. So we do have a slightly more tight top row, whereas we have a little bit more stretch in the bottom. With the size I hook and the yarn I used, this won't need blocking, but if you want to do something a little bit tighter, you definitely could. I took this to Prayer Shawl, and when I pulled it out of my bag, the other ladies were like, that is so pretty. The pattern is spectacular. Like, just the pattern in and of itself is spectacular. This yarn makes it even extra squishy and like just... This will go in the donation bin, but I am, y'all, I hope that I have, oh, there you go. You can kind of see the pattern showing up there too. It's 8 o'clock at night. The cats are up here going, it's treat time, pay attention to me. And now they're going to start fighting in the floor, waiting for me to go downstairs and give them their treats. So I'm going to have to rush through the end of this video. I do apologize. That's what I get for filming late at night. But spectacular. If you want to hear more about using the Bernat lattice yarn and my experience with it, I did do a review, Saturday's video. Loved the yarn, by the way. But the combination of this yarn and this shawl is just beyond squishy and delicious. And it's just, I love that checkerboard pattern. I think I need to make one of these. I have a couple of fluffier skeins and self-striping. I think that needs to happen. I also have some that are solid colors that have a little bit of sparkle in them. And those might have to be made for. But do check out the pattern. The original pattern is just chef's kiss. So let's pop over to media real quick. We'll hit the pet tax, and we'll do media. I'm going to hit and y'all are going to check out pet tax. Okay, so kind of jump scare in here. I'm trying to edit this video, and I have repeatedly struggled in trying to describe and express how I feel about the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I think I got it right this time. By Grady Hendrix. I just finished this. I started it back in November, and I didn't really listen to it much over the winter. As soon as the weather got nice, I started listening to this as my walking book. But very good. Like, we're giving this an 8 out of 10 overall enjoyment of reading. But I'm struggling and how I want to talk about this book because, high points. Grady Hendrix is a very engaging writer. He writes novels as if they're screenplays. So especially if you listen to audiobooks, these translate brilliantly. They're definitely very much lend themselves to that media format. I did obviously use audiobook for these, but Grady Hendrix tells people stories, and sometimes when you tell people stories, the book can be really good, but it can sometimes also leave you with very conflicting feelings. Coming out of this book, there are some things that happen that, if you need trigger warnings for certain things, I do recommend checking those before reading this book. In particularly, one thing that occurs could be very triggering for some readers and derail the falling action of the story. However, it is the linchpin moment that changes the entire trajectory of these women's story in this book, and presumably in what would have been the rest of their lives if this had been, real, not fiction. Grady Hendrix, because he tells people stories, even though there might be a monster within the story, they're not horror stories. They tend to be people stories and people monsters, or people-esque monsters. And because of that, the things in the book that are actually scary are not the things that give you spooky, creepy, goblin-y type of, even, like Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger type bad dreams. There's something far more reality about them because it's the good and the bad of humanity. So it's framing this out as fiction. This is a really fun ride. It takes you places you're not expecting to going, especially with the characters when you meet them. But you are in this story, you are also experiencing humanity at its best and its worst, and what that means in context, especially in a small group like this. So there are certain things that are great and certain things that are horrible. if you're analyzing this from a psychological perspective. From a storytelling perspective and enjoyability perspective, this is fantastic. I don't want to sound like overly like, oh my God, it was amazing, you have to go read. It is a very good book. It's very well constructed. This is probably Grady Hendrix's better book of the three that I have read. So I've read How to Sell a Haunted House, The Final Girl Support Club, and now this one. Second is probably How to Sell a Haunted House. And I know the other two are the two I think that were picked up to be turned into screenplays. So I think this is actually probably the better book. The main character and her friends basically didn't want a highbrow, highfalutin book club, so they started their own, and they alternate reading a fiction book with a true crime book. So like at one point they read Bridges to Madison County. This book takes place between 1994 and 1997. So at the time, that was I remember the book and I remember the movie. I believe that was like on Oprah's list. So I definitely remember the book. But anyway, so you start out under this premise of this book club being created because they wanted what they wanted, and they didn't quite fit that quintessential, chintz living room type book club. And that's wonderful. And they grow together. They develop genuine friendship and companionship with each other. They're very different people from each other. They all have their own individual things going on, their own individual lives and their own individual lifestyles. So it's a great story about them. And then our main character, obviously we have a huge insight into her actual life. So while I would love to talk more about plot and what happens, unfortunately, our first main plot point really keys up the action for what and how everything is going to unfold as the story continues, the main part of the action of the story to continue. And I don't want to rob you of the experience of it. The moments, the action moments in this story really drive and give momentum into the next segments of the storytelling, whether that's more action or whether it's more scene setting and understanding what's going on and explanation. So I don't want to do that, because you will miss that as you move forward. Grady Hendrix didn't hide from the beginning what the theme was, obviously with the title. So I can let you imagine what, how that's going to play out in the course of the story, but it's good. It's just not, it's not like reading, say, like In True Blood. It's not like reading Pride and Prejudice, flippant romantic story, or like, say, one of my cozy murder mysteries. It's somewhere in between those two as far as how you're going to be left feeling. You'll feel satisfied at the ending, though. There's no way out of feeling satisfied by how the final story wraps itself up. Even people you think you're not going to like, once you understand them better, you probably will. There is something, obviously, being a South Carolinian, and this is a story about Charleston again. I know people like a lot of these women, so while I don't know them in these ways, I can see this having occurred or occurring. So, the scene setting, I think, is a very important part of this, and it's like understanding the balminess and the heat of the South and how that can impact your mood sometimes. Like, I'm just saying, nothing is said without importance. There is a 3-year jump in the story, so you don't, experience every single day in between 1991 and 1997 with the characters, but I wish we had more about what happened in that block we get like the high level, but I would rather have like this Christmas card letters every year for those 3 years to know what happened. Because there are dramatic changes that occur in that gap in the story. So, that's my only like real downside, is not knowing what happened in that gap and how that occurred. But I definitely, if you want something that is between fun and something you can settle your teeth into and get a really good people story out of in the end, I would definitely recommend this. If you're looking for something that's going to give you the heebie-jeebies and creep you out, like, this isn't that kind of horror. This is far more thriller. Yeah, so there's that. Then the other thing I have been consuming is School Spirits. So I just wanted something lighthearted. This is kind of what I'm watching in that like hour before I have to start making dinner. Most days, part of it's the just when my day starts, but most days I have this weird 45 minutes to an hour between when I'm done doing everything that has to be done and that I set out to do, and it's time to start dinner, or like Troy calls and says he's on his way home or something. So this is the show I've been watching there. The premise of it: Ghost is trying to figure out how she died. She's trapped in the school. There are other ghosts, and she's trying to understand their stories as well and why they're trapped there. So there are now 3 seasons. I don't know what that means for how season 1 is going to wrap up, because it means her story can't be wrapped up. We can't have a finale for her because there's 2 more seasons and she's in the rest of it. So what happened? What's going to happen is still a question. If you've watched the show, I'm at the homecoming, like the homecoming game just ended. They're getting ready to go to the homecoming dance. That's where I am in season 1. The one thing I have to say though is, yes, it's a teen high school show and everything, but this show doesn't assume its audience is dumb. It actually assumes teenagers are smart enough to follow a plot. If they're watching it, they can follow it. This doesn't assume, they're not spoon feeding anybody anything. It also doesn't feel as cheesy as, say, like Riverdale season 1 kind of felt, while it's still kind of teen drama-esque. It's missing some of that, like it's missing all of the CW cheese. There are silly moments and there are playful moments and stuff, but it's not cheesy yet. And it doesn't spoon feed every. I mean, when a character sees something, they see it, the audience sees it, the audience can interpret that. And they assume the audience is smart enough to interpret that without going, "Oh my God, Johnny, it's $5. What is that doing here?" Because we couldn't see it sitting there as $5. So I'm very impressed with the fact that the writers and the producers actually went with a show that assumed the audience could follow a basic plot for a drama, and are treating everybody and the characters with maturity instead of caricature necessarily. Because even the ones that are trying to be caricatures, it's definitely a front that they're putting on. It's not the writers writing them poorly. There's more going on than what we're seeing. So by and large, I mean, I'm not saying, rush out, go watch it or anything. It is a little silly. It is a teenage show, but it has been fun. It's nice to get a couple of rows in on my like potato chip knitting and just have something silly to put on sometimes. And this has been a great fill-in for that. So I'll continue to check in with you guys, let you know what I'm thinking. It'll probably be, I'm not going to get much done this week as far as watching, editing, Carrie. This is Wednesday. So it's not looking good. Troy will be home on Friday. So I probably won't get anything watched Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If I was going to watch anything, probably be tomorrow. And right now that's not looking particularly good with my schedule for tomorrow. So anyway, it is what it is. Life is busy. Things are happening. Anyway, I love you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful, fantastic day. We have a silly Carrie moment along with some pet tack, so stay tuned for that. I will see you guys real soon. I hope you are having a wonderful, fantastic day. I love you guys. Bye. Y'all can't hear my fan. That's the beat of my fan.